Thank God Almighty, he has returned. Devon Haney has been sighted, training, preparing for his comeback at what is most likely going to be welterweight. And if I am correct, eventually be fed by Eddie Hearn to Jerron Boots Ennis. Let's talk about the situation that Devon Haney finds himself in with Eddie Hearn headed into this next fight. But again, I am very, very happy to see him and Bill Haney in the ring, training, preparing to fight. I have to say, though, boy, that guy is big. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, Devon Haney has returned. Devon Haney is in the ring, and I am very, very happy about it. I play a lot about Devon Haney because Devon Haney fans get on my nerves. They absolutely positively do. They do too much. They lie too much. They exaggerate too much. They tear other fighters down too much. All of those things I have nagged about, complained about for several years. However, when Devon Haney got whooped up on by Ryan Garcia and people started kind of looking askance upon Devon Haney and his skill set and his future in boxing, like any decent human being, I said, hold on, man, slow up. This guy, his fans are obnoxious. His dad definitely says a bunch of obnoxious, over the top, and often very untrue things. But still, Devon Haney is very good for the sport of boxing. He generates a lot of conversation. He's a very, very good fighter. He adds a lot to the mix, and I absolutely positively do not want him to go away. And in fact, I've said many times on my podcast that, hey, man, I kind of miss the Devon Haney fans and their insistence on spreading information that is patently untrue, but yet deliver it with the passion that would inspire the most gifted poets. Because I assure you, 90% of what they said was not true. Now, what is Devon Haney going to come back to is the question. Well, Devon Haney made a mistake. Not a mistake in that where it was a bad decision, but just he put his eggs in this free agency basket and it was paying off very, very well. But then you run into a situation where you become very, very expensive. You don't sell a lot of tickets and you haven't been very loyal to the people around you. So what do you have? You have Eddie Hearn looking at him crazy. Eddie, and what do I mean about this free agency? The free agency is Devon Haney's refusal to ever have a long-term contract with a promoter, him desiring to be a promoter himself. And over the course of a couple years, he had fought on the PBC cards. He has fought on Matchroom cards. He's fought on Top Rank cards. He's fought on Golden Boy cards. That's pretty much everybody in the boxing world. Devon Haney has fought on their card, and after fighting on their card, he got up and left at some point in time. That is not really conducive to having somebody, a promoter, looking for your long-term interest, because you clearly show that you're not interested in their long-term interest. That is why you hear Eddie Hearn with the attitude that Eddie Hearn has about Devon, and how he says that Devon is not really ready for a Liam Paro fight. He doesn't want to make a world championship fight for Devon Haney with Liam Paro because, according to him, he says that Devon is not quite ready. Devon needs to get in there. He's not going to get the type of money he wants. He really needs to just take $1 million fight. Just need to take $1 million fight and fight somebody. Just get yourself back up. And then after you have a couple fights, then maybe you can get on the rehab season, and then we can find a big money fight for you down the road, is what he said. We can do that for you down the road. Down the road is never a good thing when you're talking about making a lot of money. The next fight is really what matters. So what is his options with Eddie? Eddie, first of all, Bob Arum, I doubt very much he goes back to Bob Arum, because what is Bob Arum going to do with him? He's not going to the PBC. He's not going to Golden Boy. What he's going to do is he's going to go to Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn is pretty much his promoter at this point in time. And Eddie's going to feed him to the wolves. Eddie is going to either give him little minor paydays on undercards, or he's going to feed him to the wolves. And again, this is a result of getting very expensive, because Devin wants a lot of money for everything Devin does. That costs Eddie Hearn money. Devin is a little bit of a dented commodity, because all of the mystery and the build around him being this great undefeated, all that stuff's gone when Ryan beat him up. And he doesn't make any money, and his fights don't draw. So what is Eddie going to do? Eddie's going to treat him accordingly. Eddie's got killers now. Eddie's got Shakur, and Eddie's got Gervonta. And Eddie understands that Gervonta is probably not going to lose. He also knows Shakur Stevenson's also not going to lose for a while. So with those two guys on his plate as American legitimate top 10 pound for pound fighters in America, where does that leave the relationship between Eddie and Devin? It means you're kind of out there. But what can Devin do to rebuild this? The truth of the matter is, to rebuild this, I think Devin's going to have to show Eddie Hearn some loyalty. And he's going to have to do what Eddie Hearn asks him to do. If Eddie Hearn says, hey, man, I just want to make you take this little tune-up fight real quick, just make this little couple of this $1 million real quick, we get a busy fight, and then after that, we'll move on to the next. Hey, man, if there ain't anybody else there offering you any better, go ahead and do it. Just say, hey, man, okay, but put it in a contract, man. If I take this $1 million for this next fight, that next fight, we're going to get that rate right, and see if you can work it out that way. But other than that, the scenario that he's in, I think what we're going to see is we're going to once again see a disappearance of Devin, unless Devin really does learn to have better relationships, and a relationship which is mutually beneficial between him and the promoter that he has. Free agency is not everything that it's cracked up to be. Free agency is great when you have a million options and everybody wants you. But when not everybody wants you and you don't have any options, free agency sucks. You want to be an employee. At that point in time, that's no different than the real world, where you may work for, say, a trucking company, and when you were working for a trucking company, you got routes and deliveries all the time. You made less money per route, but you were constantly working. But then you decide to go solo. And as long as you have a contract with somebody that likes you and wants to give you business, everything's going to be good. You're going to keep working. You may get some other truckers driving for you, and you're going to grow your business. But what happens when that guy doesn't like you, or you've isolated yourself because of a bad attitude? All of a sudden, they don't want to do business with you. Those other truckers that work for you go somewhere else, and then you're trying to figure out who to do business with. Immediately, your mentality is going to go back and say, man, I wish I would have stayed, continued working for that trucking company. And that's kind of where Devon Haney is. Devon Haney went out on his own. He did his own thing. He did, and he did it brilliantly, and everything worked well till he bit off a little bit more than he could chew in the left hook of Ryan Garcia. And he's going to have to adjust for that. And he's going to have to adjust for that, not just in his fighting style, but he's also going to have to adjust for that in the business relationships that he has with other people, so that we can get some more Devon Haney fights and hopefully get the Gervonta Davis Devon Haney fight, because that is still very much a viable and reasonable and exciting fight for people to make. That's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.